Welcome to a very special edition of Building the Grenadier. After all the talk, all the speculation and all the planning, Ineos Automotive is finally prepared to let us see the exterior of their all-new 4x4. So, here you go. I bet that's got you talking. Well, this is the man behind what you've just seen. His brief was very clear. Design the ultimate utility 4x4. This is a very big day for Grenadier.
Yeah, it's been a few years of pretty hard work. This is a very exciting day because it's the first time really that everybody can see what we've been busying ourselves with for the last few years.
Revealing the finished look of the car so early in its development, most manufacturers wouldn't dare do that.
I think because we're not really restrained in the way that a big manufacturer would. We don't have to protect an ongoing line of vehicles. You know, the view is that we just need to be really open about it. We'd much rather get the actual car out there, test it. Like to be nice and open. Why wouldn't you be?
The story about a pub in London, the Grenadier, a bunch of blokes having a few beers and coming up with this plan to build the ultimate off-roader. Is that really what happened, or was it a much more conventional brief to use?
No, it pretty much was exactly that. It seemed that the sort of last of the proper utility vehicles were about to stop. There was a character about them that we all kind of felt we were going to miss, and you look around and there was nothing that was really very appealing, and Jim being Jim, well, let's do something about it. And as we basically worked out what it was about the character of these older vehicles, what was the DNA that gave it that character, and as we understood more, you start to see why these vehicles start to look in the way that they do. We didn't sort of set out to make it look like anything else. It was always sort of engineering led. Function always wins.
Where did your influences come from in the way you creatively thought about the design?
Right at the beginning, I remember saying, we've got to design something super practical, really well built. If we can think of it in these terms now, all the rest of it gets kind of built onto there. If you look at any of the older, the Pajeros or the Nissan Patrols, the old Defenders, there's a real kind of easy to understand sort of visual on them. You can see how it goes together. There's no sort of clever disguising of A and B pillars, and it's just very logical. You can see that's a structural beam, that's where something fits. And I think that makes it a very comfortable thing to live with.
So take me through in headline terms the design we've just seen, the exterior.
It's not a very complicated vehicle. It has got that sort of boxy design, and that's really a result of a wheel in each corner, a ladder frame, then an engine of a certain size which needs a certain number of radiators and cooling and space for crashing, and obviously all the sort of departure angles and the entry angles and all that sort of stuff which we've tried really, really hard to respect. You have a round headlight, which again is about the sort of simplest form of a headlight you can get. It's almost like there's a tube that runs through, and then there's a rear light which is also round as well. We've got things like this sort of built-in utility rail and things that are kind of there. It's a canvas for people to go and build upon. I kind of see it, here's a vehicle that is massively capable off-road, but it's kind of up to you to sort of go and make it your own. Down to the rear doors, that we've got a split door, we've got a really thin one that means you don't have to open the big heavy door. with a wheel on it. You can just open the little door, put your tool bag in there, close the door, and off you go. It's not a difficult, complicated route.
The look is kind of interesting though, isn't it? Because clearly it has to be functional. It's got to get the job done. It's got to work, particularly for those people who are going to work it. You know,
that's often engineer-led. So like the wheel arches, for example, you just mentioned, that wasn't anything to do with styling. That was going off with the engineers and driving this thing as on the most extreme off-road that they can. What's the limit? You know, how much space do we need for these wheel arches? That's what we went with. Then that sets up quite interesting sort of design parameters there. So you're saying, well, we can't touch that because that's starting to compromise the performance of it.
It's function every time, but actually you've still got to sell it. It's still got to look good.
Because it's been sort of engineering led, it doesn't mean it has to be ugly. You know, I think again in the same way that you don't have to build it badly because it's, you know, a working vehicle. We can still make it look good and interesting and really consider every square millimetre of it. I'm sure it will continue to develop, and also there's the sort of pickup version as well. It's going to be following hot on the heels, I think.
Oh, so hang on. So I've always had it in my head that the station wagon is going to be the vehicle that is the Grenadier.
Yeah.
There's been lots of discussion about, well, yeah, but hang on, I want a tipper and I want a pickup truck and I want this and I want that. Is that already, you're thinking about that now?
Yeah, certainly. And certainly the sort of double cab pickup is something that we've been working on in parallel. But yeah, certainly that's the mindset, is to make it a proper family vehicle.
Because as a working tool, that is so important to end user.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the whole spirit of this sort of vehicle, is that there's not a single use for it, and people do like to modify and adapt and build onto existing vehicles, and so that's always been in the back of our minds.
I know from personal experience that vehicles that I love very much, that are utility vehicles, have not been comfortable. I enjoy it, but I have to really kind of put up with some suffering to get that enjoyment. And why should that be the case?
Well, I think that was a lot of the thought was that, you know, you don't have to make it badly, you don't have to suffer just because you're using your vehicle to go to work in. You can be comfortable, you can be dry and warm. Obviously you're going to work with it, but you know, if you are using it as a sort of recreation vehicle, you know, it's still engaging and it's fun, but it's also comfortable, and that was a really big driver, I think.
Are there elements of what we're looking at now that for you are kind of almost eureka moments?
So much work went into that bonnet, and there's a really good moment on that actually, where they're saying actually we need an extra 2 centimetres for the pedestrian impact, and it's all right. Absolutely, everyone's checked that we can't get the engine any lower. No, it can't be any. So can we see the engine? There's a big plastic cover on the top of it, and I said, well, do we need the plastic cover? No, that's just how the engine comes. Okay, well, if we take that off, oh no, it's fine then.
You can't have known when you started this how it was going to turn out. Is it kind of how you thought it would turn out?
I think probably about a year ago, I thought, yeah, it feels really right now, and it fit, and I got very comfortable with that, and then it's just sort of got better and better. Every time I go into the studio now and see it, I'm really comfortable with it.
We've seen the clay. There's some more work to be done on that. So what happens now then?
I mean, we're pretty happy with most of it. So as I say, there's a few details that need to be resolved yet. But also we've obviously got to do our testing, which we want to do in sort of plain sight, because we're partly because we're all really excited about it. I don't see any problem in kind of doing that openly and welcoming feedback and comments, and it'd be great to get people to actually test it and drive it, so we can make a truly brilliant vehicle in the end.
I hope that's given you a real sense of what the Grenadier is going to look like and why. And yes, I know what you're thinking. You want to see more, don't you? We'll take a look at this.